So that was me when I was 17, right? And when I'm having this experience, by the way, I was 21. So my hair was longer than that it's shown here. So I go to the Catholic priest.
I'm so fascinated by the story. I know you keep saying you're going to give me the short version, but if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of just open it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
So you go to your parents' house. They're going to daily mass. Your brother Matthew, is he participating in the faith at this point?
Yeah. He's in Catholic school as well.
You take this book off the shelf. Are your parents home? Are they seeing you read this book?
This is the amazing thing. No, my dad's on an aircraft carrier halfway out around the world, wherever he was at the time. He had to get out of the military early because of me, but he still had one more deployment to do. Mom is there, but she's asleep. It's at night. In the morning, she's coming down the steps. Here I am, long hair at the bottom of the steps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mom, I couldn't even say it. Right. And I was trying to formulate that I wanted to talk to a Catholic priest. And she's like, you know what she says to me? We joke about this to this day. She looks at me and she goes, yeah, right. Right? She thought I was trying to like pull a manipulative, thing on her. I'm like, no, I'm like, what the heck is this? Is this what you guys, who's this Virgin Mary stuff? What is going on here? And she ran to the phone, punched in 7 digits, like 6 a.m., man. Wow. And they were on a military installation in Norfolk, Virginia, Navy base. And she's trying to set up a meeting between me and some dude named Father. Right? I don't know what that is. And it doesn't work. She tries another one, doesn't work. So I, of my own volition, knew right inside the main gate was one of those things, right? A Catholic chapel. So I said, Mom, isn't there one? She looks at me and she goes, run, Donnie, run, right? I did. I threw the book down the hallway. I tie-dyed. You could have got a contact high off of me if you stood close enough. I mean, I was constantly baked. So I run across that military base, totally out of wind when I got there. And the name of it, I'd never stopped long enough to see the name of this thing. And it's still there to this day, Our Lady of Victory Chapel. How perfect, right? So, but I don't do church. I'm like, I'm not going in there. It's good enough I'm near one of these things. There's traffic. This can't be public. So I see another building that says chaplain's office. So I go over there. Seriously, it's like 6:15 in the morning. I walk in, long-haired freak in the doorway, and I yell out, Catholic priest, right? I freaked that joint out.
I bet.
Heads are popping out of cubicles and everybody's looking at me like, what part of the fence did this hippie jump? Who's this bizarre looking creature? I don't look like I belong on a military installation. So I'm like, hello, I see you. So finally some dude comes over to me, white Navy uniform on. He's like, can I help you? I'm like, I need a priest. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, don't worry about it. So then he goes
Unimportant.
Yeah, don't worry. So he comes back with another guy and he says, I'm Father John. That means nothing to me. So he's like, can I help you? I'm like, I need a priest. And he goes,
I'm Father John.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what that, because in my mind, I'm thinking you should look like Moses or something, right? If we're going to do religion, what do you guys look like? So he says he's one. And then I go, dude, I got to confess. So he's excited. So we go to his little cubicle, but he's scared. I can see it. And he like pulls his chair like a little bit out of the hallway.
And you're not a Catholic.
No, but he doesn't know that, right? And I didn't know you had to be one to do this. So
but you knew about confession. How did you know about that?
In the book, it talked about if you want peace, you got to go to confession. You got to get a Catholic. That's why I went to the church and everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I started telling this guy stuff, foul, disgusting, perverse things that I'd done since childhood. And I'm so ashamed. I can't even look at him. I'm looking at the carpet and I'm going so fast and I don't hear nothing. So I look up and he's like, you did what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hold on. And that's when it got real.
Yeah.
He goes, when's the last time you went to confession? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. And he goes, high school? Has it been a long time? And I'm like, he goes, okay, well, you're a Catholic, right? And I'm like, oh, heck no. Dude, he got so mad. He was like, yeah, he was like, you have to be a Catholic. And I'm like, I don't know.
Why is he getting mad at you?
Well, I think he just assumed that I was a Catholic, right?
I'm sure he did, but you're just pouring out your heart to this point.
Right. Yeah, totally. But I kind of understood. So I'm like, dude, I don't know. So he goes, all right, hold on. What's up? And I'm like, dude, I read this book, freaking me out, bro. There's a virgin. She says she's the mother of Jesus. You know about this? Right? And he's looking at me like, oh, Lord, where'd you come from? So he's like, look, I got a busy day. I need to go celebrate Mass. Dude, to me, you're going to go rejoice in gravity, neutrons, and protons. You're going to celebrate Mass.
I see.
I don't know the lingo.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him like a deer in headlights, and he goes, you don't know what that is? And I'm like, So he goes, all right, do you know where the chapel is? I said, I saw it. And he goes, go over there. I'm going to go be over in a little bit and do some stuff, and then we'll meet back here after. And I'm like, really? Because I'm thinking, I just told that dude sinful things, but also criminal things. I'm thinking that's his way of getting me out. He's going to be like, 911, yo, get over here quick, you know. So I'm like, don't bust me, man. And he goes, no, we're good. So he goes, as I start to leave to go to the chapel, he actually says this is hilarious, but I totally understand. He goes, hey, do me a favor. When you go in, sit in the back, okay? Right? Dude, I look like a total freak, right? So I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. So I go over there, I open the door. The door slams behind me, and I turn around. Who's in that church? Only 5 people right near the front door in the front pew, 5 Filipino women, right? I'm dead meat, man. One took down my family. You know what I mean? I got like an army up in here. You couldn't get me to the back fast enough, right? Yeah. I went to that back, sat down, and then all of a sudden, if you're familiar with Filipino culture, which I am. I've been
once.
Yeah. So, okay, it's amazing.
I remember
people.
having cold fish for breakfast.
Yeah.
And that they drive like maniacs and that they were the most hospitable people I've ever met.
They're
Those
amazing
3 things,
people.
that's all
They're amazing people.
Yeah.
But it's a very matriarchal culture, right? The women dominate and they just tell everybody else what to do. You got to do. And the men are like, fine. So there, sure enough, was this little Filipino unit with a leader. And she went up to this thing that looked like a table, fired up 2 candles, came back, and she pulled a necklace out of her purse. And she starts with this Tagalog incantation to this mystical boat hanging from the ceiling. It's a naval chapel. So there's a ship hanging from the ceiling. So I'm like, what is it? I'm in the back. All I hear, and no offense to any Filipinos who are listening or watching, salamat po to you and your people. I love you people, right? But this is what white boy in the back heard. It was like unintelligible gibberish. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
The other 4 reciprocated with holy amen, right? I can make out a hail something, a holy something, amen.
Yeah.
In the between, I don't know what they're saying. Then this woman turns around to freak white boy in the back, holds her necklace up, right? And jingles it. And she yells to me across the pew. She goes, young man, would you like to pray the next decade, please? Next decade, right? Dude.
Accent down.
Dude, I dropped out of high school, right? I wasn't intelligent at the time, but I knew a decade meant 10 years, you know? So I'm looking at this woman like, you're a freak, man. Like, what? I didn't even know what to say. So she tried to clarify. She goes, it's a second sorrowful mystery. I'm like, I thought I walked into like a Wiccan coven and they were doing some weird stuff up at this ain't church, you know? So she seemed disappointed in me, and they turned around, they kept doing this thing. It was like sold to the highest bidder because they were flying. Hey, I better get sold, you know? Crazy stuff. Then they stop. The dude comes in, but now he doesn't look like a military officer. He's dressed like a hippie. Seriously. With like a flower on his little robe, and he's like, morning to the women. And I'm like, what the? And he goes up to something and he's saying stuff, but it was Charlie Brown. You ever been to a Catholic church where they need to get the bunny microphone, get some batteries in the mic? Yes. It was in the name, Mary. What? Right? I couldn't understand them. Now I can. He's white. I can't even understand him. And it was bizarre, man. So I'm thinking about bailing. I'm like, I'm out of here. Yeah, this is crazy. But I'm like, oh, all right. He said we'll talk. So all of a sudden, now I'm not Padre Pio. I'm not a mystic. I've never had anything like this happen since. That dude went up to that table. It was at the altar, of course. Bent over, they're on their knees. He picks up a little white circle, about that big, and he says, with total focus, and the microphone there worked, thank God. And he said this, man, take this, all of you, and eat of it. This is my body. And he held it up like he was showcasing it. Dude, I'm in the back, and I'm thinking, you're a madman, bro. That he just told us that that's his body, and we got to eat it. That's what I heard. And he was like, da-da, like showcasing it. And I'm like, what? And it was like he stood there for a long time. And it's as though somebody came in and pressed pause in the room. And then I heard a voice. And this is what I mean by I'm not a mystic or anything. Mm. And it wasn't spoken to my ear. It was spoken to me. And the voice said to me, worship. And then, Matt, I had what I can only call like an infusion of knowledge. I knew what that man had in his hands was God. Hmm. I didn't know lingo. I didn't know Blessed Sacrament, Holy Communion, none of that. Then he came back. Or no, he remained there. He picked up what I thought was a really sweet looking medieval goblet, right? I had no idea what this was. And he said, take this, all of you, and drink from it. This is my blood. And he held it up. I heard the same voice, worship. And I knew that God was there. Then that dude got up, came down. The women, they like met in the middle. And I saw that man say to each one of those women, one by one, the body of Christ. He didn't say my body. Mm. what the voice told me was true. It is Jesus Christ, right? Then I saw him put God inside them. They put out their tongue, and I saw him place God on their tongue. Matt, do you know how many things I put on my tongue that look just like that? Liquid Lucy, we call it, little acid trip. Exactly like that, right? So many dead shows I went to searching for, meaning, where love never fades away and all that. And I'm watching this and I'm like, there's no way that everything that I've been searching for in my life for meaning is here in a Catholic church. No way. He did the same thing with the chalice, right? They drank from it. I saw this. Do you know how many chalices I drank from? Tons, right? Take a sip, pass it around to your family and the dead, right? Insane. So I'm like, what? Then he did something. He left. They left. And there I am alone with God in a box with a red light next to it, because he seemed to have God still there, right? I didn't know the terminology, so I'm speaking as though I'm living it, right? So I'm like, okay. I am so freaked out by this that I get up from the back pew, I walk behind me, and I hit the wall. There's a curtain with a sign, and it says confession, infusion. Didn't hear a voice, but I knew what that was. Because I've been to the hospital a ton of times. I get kidney stones like every 5 years. I'm begging for death, nuts. I've broken bones and shattered this, and everything. So I've been to the hospital a lot. Every time in a hospital, you go behind a curtain and your life is saved, right? I knew this is a church, more than a church. This is God's rehab. This is God's hospital. I knew it. I went to that priest's office. I told him what happened. Dude, he was happy, but he wasn't exactly delighted, because I told him I heard a voice, and he's like, yay. I'm like, dude, I'm serious. I'm not having an acid trip. I know what those are like. I heard a voice, bro. You made God. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the white thing, dude. And then you gave it to them? And he's like, yes, that's, and I'm like, bro, I'm freaking out here. So he didn't exactly know what to do. He gave me a picture of Jesus, a painting of Jesus, a crucifix, which I still have to this day.
Wow.
That was a long time ago now, like 30 years. And a portrait, this is hilarious, a portrait of his grandpa.
That's weird.
Random, right?
You can keep that.
I know.
These two are great.
Totally. Part of me wanted to say that, but I'm like, I better shut up and just do what he says, right? But it was a pudgy looking dude who had a little white hat on. Look at like
stop it.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it looked like he'd eaten one too many cookies. He was a little chubby looking fella. So I'm like, whatever. So I go back to my mom's house. I tear down Bob Marley. I threw away every Mrs. January, February, and March issue hidden under the floorboards. All my resin scrapers to get that one last hit. Chucked everything. I hung up Jesus, and Grandpa in the room.
And for those at home, Grandpa was who?
John Paul II.
Right.
Right.
I didn't get that until you said.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.